Back on Tennis Channel Live starting today, and for the next week and a half, we are showing an 11-part series counting down the original 9 on their 50th anniversary. Women's professional tennis began in 1970 with 9 players taking a bold leap of faith. Here is the start of their story.
Well, from 68 to 70, we just had less and less. We had less places to compete. They were dropping women's tournaments. We were making anywhere from probably 8-to-1 ratio of money. The writing was on the wall. Things were just going to go away for us.
Once the pro tennis took hold, it took a couple of years to get real money. In the beginning, it grew in leaps and bounds just for the men.
Gladys Hellman was the publisher of World Tennis Magazine. Players approached her to see if she would help them earn more money and escape the control of their national tennis associations.
My mother was a doer. She spent her life on the phone, typing, this and that, but she was also running a magazine.
She lived in New York and knew everybody. We figured if anybody could help us, it would be Gladys.
With 7 American women and 2 Australians on board, Gladys and Billie Jean King began to organize their first tournament, the Houston Invitational.
My mother came up with an idea that in order to protect the players, they had to become what was called contract pros. And that meant they signed an agreement with her, a contract, for $1 for 1 week. So already, this is not any normal tennis tournament.
So it was quite difficult, actually, in the thought that when we'd signed that we might never play in any Grand Slams again. So it was a big sacrifice. I mean, we took a huge chance, I must say.
So Gladys called me and she said, I'm going to have a tournament. I want you to come and play because there's going to be some earth-shattering things that happen there.
As a longtime friend of Joe Coleman, the chairman of tobacco giant Philip Morris, Gladys negotiated with Coleman to have him sponsor this new women's tour, the Virginia Slim Circuit.
So she went and got a cigarette company. Of course, I about passed out because I never smoked. I'm like, you can't do that. We're athletes, She says, did you sign a $1 contract with me? And I said, yes, I did. And she goes, I got the sponsor. Are you going to play? I said, yes. So it was pretty funny.
They showed us marketing, how to sell ourselves, and they had the money to back everything up.
It was our chance to prove that we could get a circuit going. We're going to prove to you that people like coming to watch the women play.
We always had so many people come up to us after our matches and say, I really liked watching women's tennis because at the time, the men were 2-hit wonders.
We were promoting that women are strong, and strong is beautiful.
We couldn't have done it without Billie, but then she couldn't have done it without us.
Unless we got together as a group, we weren't going to have any power or say as to what prize money was available for us.
I think I get too much credit. I think we should give credit to the original 9. It took, all of us, but it took Gladys, Philip Morris, Joseph Coleman, and the 9s. If you just take one away of those 3, it wouldn't have happened.
Really, it started women's tennis, what we did, and then it grew from there. And the Women's Tennis Association was formed about 3 or so years later, but this was the start of the women's pro game.
I'm really proud of it. I mean, as the years go by, I get more and more proud of it. My girls are really proud of it. I've got 2 daughters, and they just think it's incredible that we did this.
We stood up for something important, and we looked the people in the eye who were doing us harm, and we said, go away. And I know we were part of this change that brought about a different world where women could be proud to be athletes, and I'm really happy about that.
I just always think, we did it. We had the guts and the courage. No matter what happened, if we'd never get to play again, it didn't matter. It was for the future generations.
They had the guts and the courage, signed contracts for $1. Didn't know if they'd ever be able to play Grand Slams again. What's your reaction when you see that?
It's amazing. We've always talked about how women's tennis is the leading women's sport in the world, and that is exactly why. And it's going to be fascinating for the next 8 or 9 days to learn all the parts of this story. But I was 19 years old when I first played Fed Cup for Billie Jean King as the captain. And I remember her sitting me down, and you'd spend weeks and weeks together teaching me all of this. I really had no idea. And really learning everything that especially those 9 went through, and the sacrifices they made and the risks they took to ensure that we had the sport that we had. It is remarkable, and they truly didn't think that they would be able to play again. Billie had won Wimbledon and was noticed that she didn't get anywhere near the money that Rod Laver got that same year for winning it, and said, well, that's weird. Then they went to another tournament, and the women were paid about, I believe it was 1/10 of what the men were getting. And Billie, all of women's tennis is here because of Billie Jean King. It was like, this isn't right, and I'm going to do something about it. And that's why Naomi Osaka yesterday wins more than $3 million.
Incredible. Equal prize money at all the Grand Slams. And Billie's such a pioneer on so many levels, Nick. She started World Team Tennis. I mean, she's been all about equality, and that's something you've been a part of.
Yeah, that's right, Steve. I mean, World Team Tennis has been amazing. This year was probably their best year for World Team Tennis. We had 9 teams, 6 players on each team, played at the Greenbrier, one place. And it's great to have that energy being on a team again, right? Like for me being in college, I mean, that was huge, just having that energy and that team camaraderie. And thanks to Billie, I mean, we've been able to have World Team Tennis and be able to experience that. Because when you're on the tour playing by yourself, and it gets lonely out there sometimes, so it's good to be on a team and have that World Team Tennis aspect that Billie was able to create.
Billie said she gets too much credit, but she deserves a lot of credit indeed. And we are looking forward to it for the next week and a half here on Tennis Channel. Our 11-part series celebrating the 50th anniversary of the original 9 continues tomorrow with a look at the leader of the pack, the legendary Billie Jean King.